Hello. How is everybody? Good. Hey, how are you? Thanks for the call. Hey, come with me. I want to, you're confused? Yeah. I don't blame you. This is Jackie Allen. For 30 years, Jackie Allen has spent half of her year here in Kansas City attending Unity Temple. In September, she goes back to France, where she spends the time until March again, when she will return. But I just want to let her know, as she leaves us today, that she leaves with all of our love. This is where we say goodbye, and this is where we'll say hello when you get back.
I hope so.
Okay? Yeah, I hope so too. Thank you. As I said earlier, I've been gone for some time, well, actually most of the summer, and been outside the speaker circuit for 3 months, so I'm a bit rusty. But I had a great time, and I want to share a couple things that I learned this summer that were very important to me, to the point of actually changing the experience of my life. The best part about my travels, and I went to Norway and then some of the European countries, the best part of my travels was all the time I was gone, I experienced a totally peaceful world. I never heard a voice of anger. I never saw any conflict. I never saw any disruptions of any sort. It was totally peaceful, except for an occasional baby crying on the airplane and CNN News when I got back to my room at night. It was like a totally different world. It was like a fictional program on TV that had nothing to do with what I was experiencing in the world around me. Now, 10 years ago, I made a similar trip. And at that time, on a flight, baby started to cry. And it went on, and it went on, from the crying to the screeching to that kind of gurgling noise they make when they really get angry. And you could just feel the energy in the plane shift. People started to whisper to each other, and they started to complain. And one guy even suggested that the mother take the baby outside the airplane to feed it. It was just a very disruptive flight, and thank God it was one of the shorter flights, but it was annoying, and I found myself getting very tense and even having perhaps unkind thoughts towards that cute, precious little baby. This time, the exact same thing happened. We got on a flight, the plane takes off, a baby starts crying. And this is natural now. Babies cry on planes. On one flight, the stewardess came on, or the flight attendant, and she said, "I'm sorry, but we don't have any babies on this flight. I know that many of you have become so accustomed to babies crying that you miss it when it's not there. So if you put on your headphones and go to channel 4, you can have babies crying throughout the flight." On this flight, a baby starts to cry, and it continues, and people start to get a little bit bristly again. And the flight attendant comes on, and she said, "I'm sure you're aware of the fact that there's a baby crying." And then she said, "There's a reason for that. The reason is the baby needs something. It might be food, it might be drink, it might be a change, it might be some sort of a physical ailment, but the baby needs something, and this is the way it communicates to let us know that it needs something. It is not in a comfortable position." And this made sense to me. It's, yes, the baby needs something, but then the flight attendant went on to say, everybody on this plane did exactly the same thing. There was a point when you would scream, and you would cry, and you would holler, because you needed something. That's just a natural part of life. And when babies do that, it gets the attention of those around us to try to figure out what it is. Now, the flight attendant even went on to say that at one point, everybody, as a baby, cried, and she said, "Perhaps some of you still do that." And that added a little bit of humor to it. But she also went on to say that whether it's a baby or whether it's somebody in your life, whether it is a person who's angry, a person who's acting out, a person who's being verbally abusive, a person who's being obnoxious, a person who's being irritating or disrespectful, at any age, it's always because they need something. Yet we take it on personally. We think, oh gosh, it's me. There's something wrong with me. Why would that stranger bark at me because I stepped off the curb too soon or something like that. But that was a real awakening for me, because I would take that on and think that it was my fault when people would get angry, or they would lash out at me for some reason, or they'd lay on their horn in traffic, whatever it might be. And I have to check myself, is this my fault? If it is, correct my behavior in the future. But most of the time when somebody gets that verbal and that harsh, it's because they're hurting inside. And they have to project or vent that venom, emotional venom within them, outward on something or somebody. I went to a Wayne Dyer seminar one time, and halfway through he held up an orange. And he said, what would happen if I squeezed this orange, if I cut it in half and squeezed it? And everybody said orange juice would come out. He says, that's right. Why would orange juice come out? And we thought a bit. He says, because that's what's inside it. And then he went on to make the point, people that carry a lot of anger, it builds up, and it actually does become toxic to the point where they have to get it out of their system. And they look for any little thing that they can jump on to project it outwards so that it allows them a little bit of relief inside. Now, the point of this whole thing is, if somebody comes into your life and they are not respectful to you, they don't treat you with kindness, that you don't benefit by their presence, it's perfectly okay to excuse yourself from that situation and not be in their presence again. You know, whether it's somebody in the grocery line at the store or somebody in your family, it doesn't make any difference. But that helps us tune our relationships to the point where they're harmonious, and we don't catch or we don't take on the anger or the sadness or the grief or whatever it might be from other people that have some sort of a issue that is going on. Now, another thing that happened to me on this trip that was different from 10 years ago is that I saw a phenomenon where 10 years ago, it seemed like there was a lot of conflict in the world. Now, it might have been me. I don't know. I was in a different place at that time. But it seemed like a lot of people were arguing. There was a lot of disruption. There was a lot of conflict. And there were a lot of gesturing to other people in a, you know what I mean. This time, it was totally peaceful. Now, 10 years ago, I was on a train in France. I went to my seat. Shortly after I was there, a man came by, and he started speaking to me in French, which I didn't understand. But his voice was raised, and he was speaking harshly. I remember that. The woman next to me, who spoke French, said, he's saying that you're in his seat. So I pull out my ticket, and I look at it. My seat number's right. I'm right where I'm supposed to be. And I said, tell him that my ticket says this is my seat. She tells the man in French the ticket is mine and the seat is mine. And he continues to lambaste me, and his voice is getting louder and louder, saying something I don't understand. So the woman says, he says that you need to move. And I said, well, maybe we should have a conductor come in and determine this thing. She says that to him. And then he starts talking to me instead of her again in French. And with the best foreign accent that I can muster, which isn't easy for a Norwegian, I said, please, speak English. Don't know French. And this totally pushed the guy over the edge. And he started screaming once again. And the lady says, he says, if you're going to come to France, you learn how to speak French. You know, something came over me. And I said to the lady next to me, tell him that I speak a universal language, a language that everybody can understand. She said it to the man. He looked at me. I looked at him. And I gave him the finger. I'm not proud of that. But it was very effective because he stormed off, and I never saw the man again. Now, this time, when I were in these same countries, I saw a phenomena where everybody was giving everybody the thumbs up. If there was some sort of congestion in the traffic and somebody cut someone off, and they wouldn't honk at them or give them the finger, they would give them a thumbs up. It was thumbs up every place I went, which means, okay, fine, sorry, good luck to you, versus what the finger means, it's the opposite. Anyway, the point of this is that our entire lives consist of our relationships. There's nothing outside of that. It's you relating to something which gives you your life experience, whether you're relating to yourself, relating to God, relating to a situation or circumstance that you're engaged in, relating to other people, whatever it is, your entire life is relating to things outside of you and bringing that into a certain sense of reasoning within yourself. Relationships are everything. That being the case, the quality of our lives is exactly the same as the quality of our relationships. That being the case, if we want to have a better life experience, if we want to increase our sense of well-being, it has to come from the relationships. And that is very easy to do. You know, in our prayer, each Sunday we say, peaceful mind, peaceful heart, peaceful spirit. And that is the goal, that is the objective in mind for us to move forward and relate to everybody and everything with that type of mindset. Now, there are times, I will admit, like the man on the train, where relationships seem to maybe sour a bit. And it's very difficult to be in the presence of somebody that is not kind, respectful to you, or that doesn't respect your positions on whatever it might be. And it's okay to redefine that relationship rather than continue with it. I'm talking about closer relationships at this time, intimate relationships. But sometimes, if they're not working, in order to maintain that peaceful mind, peaceful heart, peaceful spirit towards everybody and everything, we need to move that person to a place where they have less influence on us. It's called the point of harmony. The point of harmony is like a giant bullseye. In the center is a place of unconditional love. And we invite people into that space who are very close to us, who we trust, who we want to spend a lot of time in our lives with. Those people that hurt our feelings or that disrespect us or depreciate us in any way, we move them out a little bit so we don't have the exposure to them. Yet, we still are able to be at peace with their existence, in harmony with them and whatever they're doing with their lives. And some people we need to put way out on the outer perimeter, because just being in their presence seems to create something within us that doesn't feel good. It's our inner instinct or our intuitive mind that tells us no matter how hard you try, you're really not going to be able to be congenial or harmonious with this person. Now, that being said, this week something happened with a very deep and long-time relationship of mine, and that was this church's relationship with Eat Alley, our vegetarian restaurant downstairs. They've been here 24 years. It's been a great time. We've had ups and we've had downs, both in a business sense and a personal sense. But over the last year and a half especially, the relationship has gotten kind of rugged. And it hasn't been comfortable for myself dealing with them. And it's not their fault completely, and it's not my fault completely. It's just one of those relationships that matured to the point where it needed to be redefined. And that was not being in business together here at Unity Temple. And so I made the decision to not renew their lease, which is up on September 30th. Very tough decision. I did not want to do that. It hurt me. I am sad about it. But at the same time, I know because of the different things that are happening, it fractures the energy of this place. And that's the one thing that we have here at Unity Temple, is we have a positive energy. Some people say they can feel it when they walk in the doors. It feels good. It feels nurturing. It makes people feel like they're wanted. It's embracing. And when somebody enters that type of environment, energetic environment, and fractures it with rudeness or meanness. I'm not necessarily talking about the restaurant now. It deteriorates the energy throughout the entire place. Everybody can feel it, and we don't deserve that. This is our retreat. It's our place to, it's a haven of rest and inspiration, our place to come where if there's any place on this earth where we can find peace and harmony, it is right here in this building. That has to be protected. So they will be, they're closed now, and they will be leaving the end of September. I wish them the best of luck. I thank them for all the good that they did here, but it's just one of those relationships that must go its separate way. Now, I tell you this because I'm sure many of you have had similar things happen in your life, where you've either been married and it's led to a divorce, or you've been in a very solid relationship for many, many years, and all of a sudden things change, and it just doesn't seem to be as harmonious as it once was. And oftentimes there are signs that indicate it'll never go back to that. You know, but we struggle and we struggle and we struggle, and we put up with all sorts of things that are not good for us health-wise, emotional-wise, or mentally, because we want it to be like it used to be. Well, sometimes that just isn't possible. What used to be could have been 40 years ago. What used to be could have been before a lot of different things happened. What used to be could be just something that doesn't work out in this day and age. I am telling you all this because in your life, you have core relationships. And those relationships determine how happy you are. They determine how confident you are, how comfortable you are with your life. And they have to be the primary source of your focus. It's like if you have a single cavity in a tooth. You know, it disrupts the entire mouth, if not the entire head, if not the entire body, with its throbbing pain. It's the same thing with relationships. We can put them aside and think, I just won't think about that, but they're there. When you wake up in the middle of the night, sometimes they're there. You go throughout your day, sometimes they're there. And we have to release the anger that we feel in that relationship, our part of it, and allow it to just take its natural course, which is for us to position it someplace where we're not going to have that kind of negativity in our lives, and what we're providing them in our thoughts and prayers is a positiveness. In watching CNN while I was gone, you would think that the entire world is going to hell in a handbasket. I mean, there's people, elected officials, professionals on TV yelling at each other, calling each other names. There's bickering between other countries. Well, I'll do this to you, or you'll do that to me. Back and forth, and it's like, what is going on here? You know, sometimes we're so overwhelmed by the media, and this isn't a media bash because they report what we need to know, I guess, to a certain extent, but it's mostly upsetting news or bad news. So I'm not necessarily blaming them, but at the same time, we deserve to be happier than we are about the condition of the world. The sense of well-being, which is the measurement used to determine the well-being of the planet and all of its inhabitants, is based on 5 different things. And the first is social interaction, positive social interaction. We all need that. We need it for ourselves with our individual relationships, and we need it as a country with other countries in the world. It doesn't do us any good to have dissension and negativity in any relationship. So the first thing is social interaction. And the second thing is a sense of purpose, and that is, do we stand for something? Another measurement of well-being is the aspect of our outlook on life. Is it positive or is it negative? Is it mostly positive and a little bit negative? But as I put in the front of the bulletin, if you look at the measurement of well-being from the beginning of time, all humanity, you see a steady increase in the well-being of human beings, and that's listed there. It's people being killed in war has gone down dramatically. Illiteracy, almost everybody was illiterate 150 years ago, and now 90% of people 25 and under can read and write. It's incredible advancement. A much safer world where 90% less less of a possibility to die from an accident, whether it's a car accident, a plane accident, or some other malfunction of something. Positive signs are in place that the world is getting better and that our well-being is increasing. Now, that doesn't mean that we can kick back and say, yay, things are going great, I don't have to do anything. But what it does mean is take a look at those issues that are facing us today, the problems and challenges that we got, and come to some determination as to what are we going to do about this. Global warming is one of them. The extinction of many species caused by man-made actions is another one of those things. Those problems can be solved because we are problem solvers. As human beings, since the beginning of time, we run into one challenge after another challenge after another challenge, and we have solved our problems and moved on to create bigger problems. And now we're put in a place where we need to solve the problems before us. But the whole point is life is good. It's not disastrous. We're not on a downhill slope. We are moving forward, and each of us is called forward to determine what we value in life, which is our environment, I imagine. It's close friends, I would imagine. It is having our needs met, water, food, shelter, and heat. And you know, when the needs are met, then we have to look at those things that are going to have a long-term effect on the coming generations. Once again, I mentioned global warming because that's at the forefront right now, and it is serious. We have to do something about it, and we will do something about it. I don't believe that it's going to be an issue 25 years from now. The pollution that we look at. I don't know how many of you have seen the pictures of these bays in the ocean that are filled with plastic. They say there's more plastic in the ocean now than there are fish, which is an incredible, mind-boggling thing to kind of grasp. But we can fix that. The opioid epidemic, which is pretty severe, the big article in the Kansas City Star on it today, that is taking more lives than anything else at this point. It's in a situation that could be determined disastrous. But we can solve that. We can fix that problem. In order to do that, each and every one of us has to determine, what do I value in my life? And then move forth to widen our experience of what we value. If we value a good, healthy environment, then we need to move forward and do our own little part to keep it a good, healthy environment. Whatever it might be, each one of us in the room has the power to make a difference, to make a change, and we can do that based on the common values that everybody on this earth appreciates. So as we move into meditation, I want you to just think about that for a moment. Life is good. I'm happy I'm here. I hope you are as well. And we move forward to create the world that we dream of having. We'll now move into meditation.